Welcome back, eSIM Studios podcast live stream, episode number 226 on this Wednesday afternoon, early afternoon, October 23rd, 2024. I want to welcome everybody in. We're basically gonna cover one topic. I have a hard out here in about 20 minutes. Gotta take my daughter to the dentist, and I have to go pick up a new PC. So, got some stuff to do, so I figured, you know what, if I don't do this stream now, I'm not going to get it done later in the afternoon. I already know how that's going to go. But I want to thank everybody. So if you're not aware, that the new Snapdragon X Elite Samsung machine I got bit the dust, won't load into the operating system, so I'm going to return that. But have no fear, I already picked another one up, or I guess I already purchased another one at Best Buy. So I'm going to go return this and pick a new one up. And I got to take my daughter to the dentist. So, busy afternoon. So, I did want to get to a potential interesting story. Now, it's similar to the one. I do have an update for the TSMC selling chips to Huawei. We did that story, what was it, 3-4 days ago, something like that, maybe over the weekend. Something similar to this, and it impacts another chip maker. So, we do have news. We do have update. So the U.S. was investigating TSMC as far as because the U.S. placed sanctions on Huawei. Right? They were essentially spying on us and stealing our technology. U.S. put sanctions on Huawei. Not allowed to sell any devices whatsoever inside the U.S. They're not allowed to do business with the U.S. or any company that does business with the U.S. So a complete and utter cutoff from Huawei, whether it's directly or indirectly. Absolutely no business with Huawei directly or indirectly, meaning a third-party access, right? So TSMC was selling chips to a third party, and that third party was set up kind of as a shell company to be the middleman between Huawei and TSMC. And as you know, all of our phones here in the US, all of our CPUs in our phones are made by TSMC. So if that was the case, TSMC selling chips to a third party, that third party being the middleman, giving the chips to Huawei, Huawei giving the money to the middleman, the third party, and then them giving the money for the chips to TSMC. Well, it appears TSMC was the whistleblower. They found out and actually notified the U.S. government. So it's not the other way around. We had thought the U.S., the federal government found this out and started investigating. And the original article made it look like TSMC was kind of sneaking around, trying to make money behind the scenes. It's not the case. They found out something was fishy about this middleman, about this third-party company. Investigation from within TSMC. They found out that third was TSMC that was the whistleblower. So no harm, no foul. Yes, you will get a new iPhone 7, get a number of devices next year. So that seems to be okay. However, as you might get an iPhone 17 next year, doesn't necessarily mean 1 plus 14 next year, or you're going to get a next year. That's correct. Snapdragon or computer, right? No PCs, no Snapdragon brewing on the other end of the chip makers. So it looks like they could be on the chopping block. All right. So the cool things, they're based in San Diego. They're a U.S. company, right? So Qualcomm is a chip manufacturer, not a chip, an SoC um, company, right? They make chips, right? So Qualcomm designs and develops their TSMC, world renowned for their chip making process. TSMC produces them, and then once Samsung, Qualcomm ships them to Acer, to Samsung, uses Qualcomm chips. That's basically the process, right? So these chips, you've heard ARM is actually its own independent company. It's its own entity. So what we have in the chip world is a bunch of entities doing business together, and it's very lucrative, very lucrative. Billions of dollars every year, $1 trillion industry. So there's a number of companies that do business together. So Qualcomm. So when you hear it's an ARM-based chip, right? Or it's an ARM CPU, Windows on ARM, Qualcomm, do I have a Snapdragon phone here? CPU, ARM-based CPU. ARM is an actual independent company, right? It's an entity. They actually own the schematics to the ARM-based tech. Is that technology? They lease those schematics, and Qualcomm design their own custom to TSMC to get built, and then so on and so on and so on. Now, there's actually a deal, and it dates back many years, and they refresh it, I think, every 5 to 7 years. Okay, we're going to, and this is on ARM's side, we're going to allow Qualcomm to design their chips using our ARM-based technology, and all the details are ironed out between lawyers and all that good stuff. Well, it appears put a notice to Qualcomm that they are going to cancel Qualcomm's licensing deal for using the ARM-based technology, ARM-based architecture. So, licensing deal, the deal allowing Qualcomm to use the ARM technology to design their chips is going to be null and void in 60 days from now. Check this out. This could have if it goes through, this could have major implications on phones. That means, as of now, if nothing else gets done in regards to this deal, Qualcomm has been put on notice, hey, our deal is canceling in 60 days. This could, if it plays out and nothing gets done, that means Qualcomm can no longer, well, they can, but they would get sued for billions, if not $1 trillion, by ARM, right? Which possibly could mean no more Snapdragon CPUs for a given amount of time until they can work a new deal out. Or if ARM wants to play hardball, they can just sit back with their arms crossed and play hardball and say no new deal. And what does that mean? That means there would be a disruption in Qualcomm-based, ARM-based CPUs. And that would disrupt, again, billions upon billions of dollars in the industry. That means Qualcomm would not be able to sell these CPUs in the laptops or phones, right? So that means possibly S25 could be put on hold for a year, maybe. These ARM-based Snapdragon X Elite CPUs could be put on hold potentially for a given amount of time. So this article says here, and basically what I described is in the article. I just, broke it down into layman's terms. Now, we have a response from Qualcomm, and we will get into that. So the title is Qualcomm Faces a Crisis That Could Strike at the Very Heart of Android Phones. ARM-based technologies has issued a 60-day notice to terminate its architecture license with Qualcomm. There you can see, that looks like a... Do you remember the Snapdragon 820 or 835? That looks like one of the older ones. That's not a newer one. I don't know. I don't know why Android Authority chose to put an old CPU. Anyways, so here's the gist of the story broken down. ARM has issued a 60-day notice to terminate its architectural license with Qualcomm. The move could disrupt Qualcomm's ability to design Snapdragon chips for smartphones and laptops. The cancellation could also lead to a shortage and potential price hike for Android smartphones. So let's say this termination goes through. Let's say they don't strike a new deal. What does that mean for you, the end user? Well, that means the price of your phone could double next year. Now, if you're going to go with the same... Look, honestly, I think Samsung would be okay because they're doing more business with MediaTek, right? And honestly, I wouldn't mind, actually, if the new S25 series, right, S25 coming out in January, S25, S25 Plus, S25 Ultra, I would be okay if they all use MediaTek CPUs. The new Dimensity 9400 is a freaking beast. So actually, I don't really mind, but I shouldn't have that attitude. This is not good for the smartphone industry at all. We desperately need Qualcomm. Now, here's the deal. And look, we don't know what's in the legal agreement between ARM and Qualcomm. These legal agreement deals between $2 billion companies are 1,000 pages, like 900, 800 pages. But when they sign a new deal in the past, because each side has lawyers that comb through the fine print, making sure there's no loopholes. Fine, right? So I'm sure this is even legal. It's in the contract just for any reason, just because they feel like it. I'm sure there has to be negligence that no one company can just back out whenever they feel like it, right? Like, you would think that would be putting these two companies. It would be almost negligent to have one of them just back out whenever they want to, and that's basically what Qualcomm said in their statement, right? So why is ARM doing this? Well, I always like to say everything, yes, everything comes down to money. Whether it's especially in the business world, every decision that gets made, and yes, I'm going to repeat, money can't be the issue at every single decision. Yes, it is. So here's what ARM is doing. I think ARM is threatening Well, they're not threatening. They're saying our deal is going to be terminated in 60 days. I think they're doing that just to get more money. I think they're doing that to try to get Qualcomm into negotiations to negotiate a new deal between these two. Now, is it foul? Yes, very foul. In fact, if I was Qualcomm and or worked in the Qualcomm legal department or the board of directors, I would be livid. I would be pissed off at ARM. These little pricks are backing out of this deal and just flat out demanding more money. I'm sure the Qualcomm lawyers, as we speak, are going through that 1,000-page legal documents that they signed. I think it was 5 years ago. In ARM, as time goes on, Qualcomm is keeping more and more of the profits. So in ARM, and we don't know what the deal is, but ARM might be, obviously they're getting paid for the licensing deal, but ARM wants more money, flat out. That's my opinion. ARM just wants more money, and they're trying to strong arm Qualcomm into negotiating a new deal. So this will go to court. Qualcomm's lawyers are probably going to say, no, screw you. You signed this deal right here on such and such date at such and such time. We have an agreement. Screw you. Let's go to court, and we will win. More than likely, if there's a deal signed, the judges will favor Qualcomm because they're simply just sticking to the agreement that they had in the first place. I believe that's all this is. Now, who knows how, if they want to play hardball, ARM that is, because this deal, don't get it twisted. This deal is worth $100 billion probably. I mean, the cost of phones continually get higher every year. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? Along with everything else, milk, bread, groceries, gas, freaking construction, lumber is skyrocketing. Phones are basically the same, and it sucks. But while Qualcomm while the prices increase to the consumer every year, more and more money is pouring into the pockets of Qualcomm from the sale of these chips. And the same amount of money is getting back to ARM. So while Qualcomm steadily increases its revenue year over year, ARM is getting the same amount they've gotten that's in the deal. So I'm sure they see how much money Qualcomm is making, and they're probably jealous and want a piece of that pie. Qualcomm, here's a statement or an update. Qualcomm is understandably not too pleased about ARM's impactful move here, and it's not mincing words about how it characterizes the action. Here's a statement. You can tell I've been on Best Buy's website. Look at all these ads. All right. Quote. Now, this is a quote from Qualcomm. This is more of the same from ARM. More unfounded threats designed to strong-arm a longtime partner, interfere with our performance-leading CPUs, and increase royalty rates regardless of the broad rights under our architectural license. They also are quoted as saying, with a trial fast approaching in December, it's pretty quick, ARM's desperate play appears to be an attempt to disrupt the legal process, and its claim for termination is completely baseless. We are confident that Qualcomm's rights under this agreement with ARM will be affirmed. ARM's anti-competitive conduct will not be tolerated. So these two do not like each other. These two companies do not like each other. And they're pissed off, quite frankly. Qualcomm's like, why are you backing out of this deal right now? Like, we have a deal. And ARM they're being little sissies about it and crying over they want more money. Well, if that's the case, you should have negotiated that in your original deal with Qualcomm. In fact, in this video, I am going to at Qualcomm and I am going to at ARM and basically call ARM out for negligence, for backing out of deals when you have a deal, right? Now, I know in sports you see guys hold out this and that. This is not sports. This is one of the largest industries in the world, affecting the most users in the world. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody. We've gotten past the stage where, oh, I have one, but my parents are slow to adopt one, or I got a smartphone, my parents got a smartphone, but my grandparents still don't have one. Now everybody has got one, and kids are getting one younger and younger as time goes on. So I'm calling out ARM to basically stick to the original deal, the original agreement you had. Don't go crying to a judge because Qualcomm is just simply doing business, right? You need to blame your lawyers that drafted this agreement. You need to blame the people that were in negotiations that negotiated this agreement, and you need to go cry to them, or you need to fire them and hire new lawyers. You need to fire new negotiators. A lot of these companies will have lawyers that draft the deal and negotiators that's all they do, right? They probably have a legal background, but all they do is negotiate. You know, when you're doing $1 billion deals, you can afford to hire very, very specific people. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, a very, very close eye. And ARM, you need to get your shit together and continue out this current deal with Qualcomm and negotiate better for the next term. So that'll do it for today. I got to drop my daughter off at the dentist and go get this new PC. So appreciate the time. Thank you very much. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace.